Let me ask you about one of the exercises you have in here. Tell me about the 50 things. What is the 50 things exercise and what does it lead to?
Well, the exercise is called 50-25-1. And it's really about how do you help your family create a family vision as well as a personal vision. And you start with 50 things that matter, any 50 things. And I give like 150 examples you can personalize. But you simply start with 50 things and say, what makes me happy? But then you narrow those 50, I call them 50 pursuits that matter. How do you narrow 50 pursuits down to 20 priorities that matter most? And then 20 priorities that matter most down to 5 passions you'll live for, and then 1 purpose you simply will not live without. And going through that exercise, it is amazing experiences that you have as yourself. But when I did this with my kids, they initially rolled their eyes and it's like, oh, Dad, here comes another exercise. But what was fantastic is to see the experiences of how when they articulated and found themselves through this process of narrowing things down to the things that really matter. And then when I saw it happen, I think it was about 8 years later, for Christmas, my kids are all, of course, 8 years older, and they got together for Christmas and updated their 50-25 lists. And it was amazing to see the transformation in their lives. Their purpose didn't change much, but the things that they were letting into their life funnel, those 50 things. And the key is when you go through the process is you realize, am I letting into my life the things that are going to ultimately pour out, right? Because if we want things to pour out of our children that are better, we have to make sure that we look at what's pouring into our lives. Because what flows out of us flows into our children.
You know, I love it. You have in here 50 pursuits that matter. I'm happy when I'm enjoying, and you kind of ... And you have in here, you know, things like God saying, well done, a faithful legacy, integrity when no one's watching. And then you have, you know, mom's enchiladas in here. You just have anything that brings, you know, brings you happiness, but taking those 50 things and then winnowing that down to the one purpose. What has been this benefit of taking those steps and kind of winnowing that funnel down to these things that really matter?
Well, I mean, there's a personal for me, and it really, frankly, I wrote the whole book and then did my 50, which made no sense. But when I went through that process myself, I literally sat back in my chair and just went, wow, Lord, you just showed me things of myself that I never realized. When my daughter did it, she said, I wasn't even looking for the Holy Spirit to speak through me. But she said, when you do this, the Holy Spirit reveals things to you that you never realized. And you find things out about yourself. But for example, my son, who's a musician, I loved his purpose was this. It was to be in tune with God. And you'll learn things about yourself. My son learned that his wife wanted to adopt. He had no idea. But the process of going through that and the Holy Spirit speaking through you can reveal things to you, because we don't sit down and think about these things necessarily. I didn't. But a simple exercise can help you lead your family. Because ultimately, if I want to lead my family well, right, I have to lead myself well. But doing it together as a family, I promise you this, it will absolutely give you memories that will bond your family together in ways you never imagined. It's happened to countless people already.